there is a way of being aware of something without being thinking of it or busy with it, if you like. Okay? Like, for example, if I ask you to, I don't know, if I ask you if you have pain in your fifth elbow, yes? Okay? You don't need to check out, do you? Because you know you don't have a fifth elbow, yes? You know you have two, alright? So in that way it operates self-awareness. Once it's rooted in you, the true identity of who you are, you're not having to be aware of it or being present. The issue of being present is more an issue of the ego, who is convinced that it hasn't been present for a long time and wants to become something that is not, and has a very clear idea of what it means. The self doesn't need to be present. You understand? And when you have self-awareness, it doesn't mean you have to think about it all the time. You know, it simply happens that whatever threatens the fifth elbow is not a threat for you, because you know you haven't got a fifth elbow. You understand?
Okay.
If you see a sign in a restaurant saying everyone with 5 elbows cannot walk in, you walk in straight because you know you don't have 5 elbows. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have this awareness without having to think about it. And the same happens with this awareness of the self. Once you have awareness of self, you don't need to be aware of anything. It's just natural that you don't feel threatened by time and by space and by tiredness or by emotions or by thoughts. You simply feel free. So in a very easy way, in a very lazy way, if you like, in a very effortless way, you are free compared to what you were before you had self-awareness. And you are free compared to what you see around you. People sometimes really indulging in thoughts and really confronting them and making a war against them and having kind of this attitude of or confronting them or try to get rid of them or try to flirt with some that are more beautiful and reject the ones that are not so beautiful, and that kind of phenomenality, you're free from that. Because you know, if you fall in love with a flower, you know that your heart will be broken because the flower won't be there later. Because it's the nature of impermanence. Now, when you are free, you don't have so much worry about your heart being broken. Because you even are free to have a broken heart. You know that you can handle a broken heart. When you don't have the awareness of the self, you feel that you can't handle a broken heart. You feel that this is terrible. My heart is broken because so and so, or because of that and that that happened to me, and I need to sort it out because I'm not having a life, and I need a therapy, and somebody has to bring me back to the situation so I can confront it and replace it, and who knows what you're going to your thinking. And you want to get rid of the heart broken. When you're free to have a broken heart. You see? It's like another flower in your garden. And it is okay to have a broken heart. It is okay to be afraid. It is okay to be sad. It is okay to be depressed. When you have freedom, and that's what is very difficult to conceive for a mind that is ruled by opposites and is either freedom or pain, freedom or broken heart, freedom or depression, freedom or, That's the tyranny of the mind, and this is why it's so important to imagine, at least for a moment, if you don't experience that, that is not the way you imagine it. And this is why we think we don't get it, because we want to get it the way we imagine it. And the day we let go of the way we think it should be, we realize we have it. So all the dialogues we're having is for you to let go of the things you so convinced you know. And it's funny, because if you think about it, you seem to know very well, you became the guide of your own self. And you're following the wrong teacher, which is your mind. And your mind is lost.
Yeah.
So it's the worst thing that can happen is to follow a guide that is lost, you know. Because if you want to be lost, at least be lost alone. It's more interesting. But to be lost in the trip of someone else, this is one of the things I used to do a lot before there were sat-navs. Going to London and places like that, we used to stop the place. Can you tell me where this street is? And I see in a split of a second if the person knows or not. If they don't know, I just say, thank you, don't worry, and I go. And I left them there, because if you're going to make it up, I can make it up myself, you know. Huh? It's even more fun. At least I have a feeling that I'm trying to see if I can hit it. You know? But if I go by your guess and I never see you again, and you're wrong, you know, I don't feel well with myself. It's like, why did I do what he said? And the same happens with us in our spiritual path. We know there is a freedom somewhere, and we believe to know how it is. And because we believe to know how it is, we don't realize the one that is already alive in us. And that happens a lot. And it takes an enormous amount of frustration for you to have the humbleness to admit that you don't know. You know, the day you come to satsang and say, look, I don't know the way. I tried everything. I was so arrogant. Even when you spoke to me, I always have a clever answer. I had this hundreds of times. Even when I spoke, you know, when you spoke to me, they tell me I had a clever answer, and my mind was a bit further than yours into knowing why. Yes, into knowing why you were not seeing exactly what I meant. And far enough. It's a process, you know, everybody's going through that process. But I'm just talking about something that you need to pay attention to. It's quite simple. If you don't know, it's okay. But it doesn't work to pretend you know. Because then the only one who is suffering by this is yourself. You're confusing yourself with your knowledge. And it's much easier to surrender and to say, I don't know, and to be guided, and to give it a chance, but a full chance, not a half 50% chance. To be guided by someone who is inspiring you, you know, truth. And this is really important, because when you find freedom, you don't need to be aware of anything anymore. But when you don't find freedom, you talk in those terms of, what do I need to be aware of? What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to achieve? Or what do I need to... How can I be present? You seem to fail to understand that for you to want to be present, it takes the fact that you take for certain that you're not present. It seems obvious to me that anyone who wants to be present is coming already from the conviction that is not. Basically that. So already I question that conviction. I'm not asking about, I don't want to talk about how to be present. I'm talking about how did you come to the conclusion that you're not present? And if you're not present, who's talking? There must be somebody absent saying, I want to be present. No? You're laughing. Yes? There is an absent one saying, I love to be present. And you fail to see the absurdity in that. And then you get angry at me because I'm not helping you to be more present. And I try in my best way to make you see that you are present. And that you don't need to become anything different, and that you don't need to be aware of anything more than just the fact that you are present. And that the fantasy of becoming present, with all the attributes that contains, it's something that you need to throw in the garbage. Now, this sounds to me like swearing, Somebody's like, oh gosh, look at him, what he said. Come on, I'm wasting my time. And look how much it cost me, the retreat. Huh? But then it's your fault. Why did you come here? You came here for the truth, and the truth never sounds like you want. There are truths there that sound like you want, and you can go for them, but they are a lot more expensive. And you have to,
they always promise it in the next one.
Yeah, exactly, and you have to become a member and the whole thing, But that's your choice. I mean, if you want the truth, here you don't have to belong to anything, you don't have to come anymore, but here you get the truth. So forget about having to be aware of anything. Now I put you all in the spot. Forget about it. It's not an almost impossible mission to be aware of freedom, to be aware of your God-like nature. It's not necessary for you to have a kind of a very difficult, how do you call it? Acrobatic kind of posture in your mind, and kind of keep it there, like aware of this and not aware of that and aware of that at the same time. Meanwhile, you have to breathe and eat something, It's like, it's not about that. It's just not about that. I'm sorry. Freedom is something relaxed and very, very effortless. It's not about something that your mind may have some fantasies about it and may start believing that it's very fragile, and if you don't do the right things, it's going to go away. But that's the torture of the mind. It's the same thing as always, You're being guided by someone who doesn't know.